We knew Chirigua because I had been there before. I told the sisters to come and see if there was any land in Chirigua. We arrived where the village starts. I said to them, "No, let's go further on. I already know this place." So we came to the hacienda in Monte Sacro. We didn't know this area. There was a man at the entrance and he said, "Come in, the administrator will be here shortly." We went in and waited for an hour. Then he said, "What did you want, sister?" I told him we were looking for a piece of land. Then he said, "Who told you we were selling the land?" "Nobody," I said, "but we are looking for a piece of land." He asked, "How much money do you have?" "Well, I'm going to be honest with you. We have 10 million pesos. He told me that's nowhere near enough. I said, "Okay, we'll see what we can do." At that moment, the landowner rang up and he told him, "There are some nuns here who need a piece of land." And he said, "Sure, I'll sell it to them." So we went to see part of the property. At first, it was going to be the flat land in the valley, 4 hectares of leveled ground. But I didn't like it. I thought that building at the bottom of the hill there would be a little privacy for the sisters. I asked him if he would sell us the hill. He told me, "No, the hill belongs to God. That is why we couldn't have the Monte Sacro." So we left and began to pray. One day I got a phone call. "Sister, come to Chirigua. It's about the hill." We went there and he told us the price would be 60 million pesos. I told him if he was willing to trust us, we would pay him with our work and with some financial help if we could get any. He agreed, but we would commit to pay all the installments for 60 million pesos. I signed the vouchers one by one, 2 million pesos to pay each month. They didn't charge us any interest. While we were praying for the owner to soften his heart, it was his wife who was the instrument chosen by God. She wanted to see the spire of the convent from her house. Her husband said, "Okay, we'll sell the hill to the sisters. They won't do any harm, either to the forest or to the mountain or to anything, quite the contrary." So he sold it, and what's more, when we were only halfway through the payments, he turned up and said, "Because the good things should be told too, right?" Don Jorge Luis del Viso says to me, "Mother, let's go to the notary to register the property title." "But Don Jorge, we haven't finished paying you yet." And he says, "I'm not worried. I trust you. For one thing, we're all the children of death. Then I don't know. If I die, then you might have problems." And so we went and registered the title, and within a month he had a heart attack, and he died. I think that God always wanted the convent on that hill. He had kept it aside for all eternity for the sisters to build their convent. It will give great glory to God for many years, for we will die, but others will come. La Moran must have approximately 12,000 inhabitants. We reckon there are around 1,200 families. It's not a very big suburb because up until 1993 it wasn't considered a housing area. It was more like an occupied territory. Now it is considered a housing area, but there are no proper roads because the settlements blocked the roadworks with ranches, homes, and so it wasn't urbanized. And now it is more difficult to build roadways into the town. There's a series of roads and a sort of main stairway that links up with the main street of La Moran. La Moran was a neighborhood that was set up in 1970 by Father Francisco Amor, who was looking for a place in the barrios where the church could be present. But it barely lasted more than 3 years. It had a little school where they taught the children, a dispensary and the church. Then the government declared the whole settlement as a non-residential area and demolished everything, except the school, which they decided belonged to the community. When we arrived, the whole place was like a rubbish dump. 8 families had settled there, in shacks made of cardboard, tin sheets, rags, but without toilets, without fences, without anything. What caught my attention is that the only thing still standing was the old church, and all that was left of it was the cross, a bare cross. It was as if it had accompanied the barrio for the past 20 years, because for 20 years the barrio had been without any presence of the church, no priests, nuns, or anything. The only thing that accompanied them was that bare cross from the old church. Many times I have said, I'm not going to be able to pay them this month, but always, one way or another, I don't know how, but God always helped us, and we were able to make the payments, always. And that's how we paid it. In a few years, we came here with 4 or 5 sisters. In the Hacienda Montesacro, people had weddings. Radio Caracas TV filmed various TV series. Venevisión also filmed various dramas. We cooked for them, sometimes for 80, 60 people who had come to film here. We cooked breakfast, lunch and dinner. And we paid off the land with this work and some other kinds of work and the occasional little help that people gave us. We started with some piglets, raising and selling them so we could pay the workers and everything else. But later we couldn't keep them any longer. There was nothing here. There was no water, no electricity, no roads. That's why the works have taken 12 years. The road, the electricity, the water, and everything else was done at the cost of much sacrifice. I would say with the blood, sweat and tears of all the sisters and the people who helped us.